Where were we? So tell me, seems like Aunt Lizzie was always a character that everybody talked about. So tell me.
Yeah, you'd go up there. Well, I remember seeing her the first time when I was 8. Then the next time I saw her, I was probably 16. And then the next time, because Jack took us up one summer, Jack and Betty, and Frank Boston, and Mom and Dad, and Janine and I. I don't remember Marjorie going. So maybe she was working. And then I didn't see her again until Jimmy and I went up the first time, which was in 1950.
So tell us who.
And she always looked like, to me, you know, looking at those different years of my life, she always looked to me like she was 90 years old.
Okay. So
all the time.
Can you start over just saying Aunt Lizzie and then
say everything I just said all over?
I mean, just say, just say Aunt Lizzie.
Oh, Aunt Lizzie.
And who was she?
Oh,
basically. Aunt Lizzie
was. She
was
was my grandfather's sister.
Say it over again. Aunt Lizzie was.
Aunt Lizzie was my.
Wait, but I interrupted you, so say, ready?
Aunt Lizzie was my grandfather's sister. And she ran the White House. Before that, she was a milliner, and she went on a wagon, like in Perry Sound and Sudbury, and sold hats. She was married to Charles Finley, and the day before he went overseas during World War I, and he never came back. So she was awarded the post office by the government. So she ran the post office in Point Barrow. But we used to always take her up black sweatpants, sweatshirts, and because she always said you dressed in layers. You know, and you could tell. She wore belts around her neck, and she would be up first thing in the morning, and she'd have these black sweatpants on and black sweatshirt and these belts around her neck. And then midday you'd see her, and she'd have one layer of clothes off and be in another outfit. And then later in the day you'd see her, and she'd be down to another layer of clothes, and she'd wear belts around these other ones. So that was kind of the characteristic of her. She had a cottage which was called Sunset, which was across from the White House. So when we went up in 1950, Jimmy for the first time, we stayed at the hotel one time, but when we went up with Mom and Dad to like stay for a week or two for vacation, we stayed at Sunset, which was this little cottage. And we used to walk over to the hotel. We would cook for ourselves, but she would invite us over for dinner. So we'd go over. And that was like walking over the rocks. They had a dance hall, they called the dance hall, which they used to have a player piano in there. And when Jeannie and I were younger, we used to go in there and play that player piano anytime we wanted to. And they had dances there on a Saturday night, and they would have a boat come up from Midland that sold ice cream and had dances on board the boat on a Saturday night, and people would come to the hotel in boats, or people that were in the hotel would go down to the boat, and it was a big boat. And that was a Saturday night at Point Barrow. So then Grandpa, when he got older, they built a room off the side of the hotel, and Grandpa stayed there.
Grandpa Oldfield?
Mm-hmm, Grandpa Oldfield. Because he, I think her mother and dad built a hotel, which would be my great grandmother and Grandpa Oldfield. And it burnt down. And then I think it was rebuilt, and that's when Aunt Lizzie took care of it, or started in there. And they had a whole stainless steel kitchen in there. Big restaurant refrigerators, big restaurant, stoves, you know, the sink, everything was stainless steel. It was an expensive kitchen. They had 17 guest rooms, and most of the time it was full. They had a guest book that even said that President Roosevelt was there, but whether he was or somebody put his name in it, I don't know. But the book said that. So it was fun times up there then. You'd see the tugs come in every night from their fishing, and the seagulls would be following them in, and you'd go out over to the island and watch the tugs unloading their fish and boxing them up for shipment. They had railroad cars down at the station, which was a 7 miles. I got something tickling my nose. What is it? It's like a hair or something. They had a railroad station that took the fish out, shipped it to New York. So I remember both Uncle Willie's place. By that time, Uncle Willie had his own place on Range Island, and at Grandpa's. Well, we went over one time, and my uncle said to Jimmy, Captain, he threw him a fish, a white fish we had for supper. It was good. And but they had a grinder that they would grind the ice. Well, in the wintertime or the spring when they went up there, they would cut the ice out of the water, put it in a ice house with sawdust, and that was their ice for their fish all summer. So when they would come in from the tug, after they unloaded the fish off the tug, they would grind this ice up into like snow cone type stuff. And they had these boxes that were made. Usually someone stayed on shore to do that. Larry Oldfield used to be the one to do it for Uncle Willie. And they put some paper, brown paper in the bottom. Then they'd throw a shovel of this ice on the bottom. And then 2 of the fishermen would stand one side or the other. I saw both my uncles do this. And one would take the tail of the fish and go like this, throw it in the box. The other one on the other side would take the tail of the fish and throw it the other way in the box. And they would fill that box with ice in each layers. And it was like packing sardines, only it was big 10-pound fish or 8-pound fish. It was really an art. It was really interesting to watch. And they had reels on the dock, big wooden wheels that they used to string their nets on to dry. So I'm sure the kids today see it as they saw it, but it's such a shame they missed all of that because there was so much history in it and so much point of barrel. Now it's so commercial that it's not the same place. Not to us, anyway.
So tell me the order, if you could remember, of Grandma's siblings, starting with the oldest.
Uncle Willie is the oldest. Mom is the next. I think Uncle Frank, and then Aunt Stella, then Aunt Reen, and then Uncle Freeman.
How'd they all get along?
They all got along well together. Yeah, they all did. My grandfather was a strict. I mean, they all worked for him on the tug. I mean, they all stayed up there and worked in the fishing business. And so him and the boys had their arguments. In fact, Uncle Freeman left one time, like to go to Manitoulin Islands, but he ended up coming back. Uncle Frank never left. Uncle Willie left and got his own business. Of course, he was the oldest, so he could afford to leave, and because there was plenty more to help Grandpa. So.
So do you remember Grandpa Oldfield?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember? Tell me a little bit about his personality.
He was a kidder. I mean, I remember him older, you know, in his late 70s, 80s. He was a kidder. I've got several pictures of him. He had a boat that just looked like a cigar, and it was a wooden boat. It had a square windshield on it, and it, for those times, it really went fast. He never stood up in it to look at anything. He would open that boat wide open, and that front end was up in the air, and it was like, everybody get away from me because I'm coming. He knew the water like the back of his hand. So he just looked at the shoreline and he knew exactly where he was and what rocks were in the way, and, you know. But he was a king up there. I mean, the Oldfield name was one of the oldest names up there. So, you know, everybody knew him. And he was in business for so long that, you know, and you got that out of his presence, you know, that he just felt like my dad felt in Thornbury, you know? Like he could do anything and go any place.
So what you sang me a couple songs or said about that Aunt Lizzie used to do or something?
Oh, he can do little who can't do this. Do you want me to tell you how it all works? She always wanted to get the guests involved and stuff. As soon as she met you, she said, "Do you play the piano?" Because she had a piano there. So if you didn't play the piano, she was kind of disappointed. But you'd sit around. They had a big living room. Well, it was a hotel lodge, and they had a separate dining room with glass doors and round tables, and they were always set at night, you know, for the next day. And the living room just had nice, comfortable furniture. It was made out of trees, wood from trees, you know, with comfortable cushions, and some of them didn't have any cushions at all. It was just wood. But they had this big fireplace, so you'd sit around this on a rainy day or something, and she'd come up to you and she'd say, "See if you know what's going on here." So she'd say, the thing is you take a stick and you pound the stick a couple times on the ground, like 1, 2, 3. Clear your throat. You go, "He can do little who can't do this." And then you say to everyone, "Anyone want to try it?" Most people got up and they get kind of mixed up in the verse. And you say no. So someone else, "I can do it." Someone else come up and they'd say, "He can do little that can't." And then they couldn't finish the end of it. No. So someone else, "Well, I know it. He can do little who can't do this," you know. And they just stomp it. The cane or the piece of wood. And no. So finally, the person that did it originally, say Aunt Lizzie, would do it again, and she'd go, "He can do little who can't do this." Well, finally someone, to make a long story short, someone would catch on, and they'd come up and go, "He can do little who can't do this," and she'd say, "Yes." So you did that until everybody figured it out. Well, most of the time, not everyone figured it out. You had to tell some of them. So that was one of them. Then there was another one that I don't know if Aunt Lizzie did this or not, but you take 12 magazines. I know we've done it up there. 12 magazines, and you put them in rows of 3 or 4, and you send somebody out of the room, and someone picks a magazine, and say they pick the one on the right hand upper corner, and then they come back in. So you have someone pointing out these magazines, And the clue is, like, if somebody in the room knows which one it is. So the clue is the right hand, you have to push the right hand of the right end of the magazine with the stick on the right hand corner to say it's a right hand magazine. So it's three in a row. 1, 2, be 9 magazines. So you would go and you'd maybe hit the middle one in the middle, and they'd say, they'd just be guessing. But if they guessed, if you hit the one up in the corner and they did it, then they were right.
Was there a song?
No, there wasn't a song with that one. Mm-mm. So those are the only ones I can think of. In the summer when we used to go up when the kids were little, we used to play charades a lot. That was when we just had the downstairs. We didn't have the upstairs or the porch. We were all in that one big room with the 2 bedrooms on each side. And we used to play charades, and we used to take up canned pie filling. And Jimmy at work, the guys had made Jimmy some pie makers on sticks that you just put bread in there and then put pie filling in. So Terry was the one that liked to cook, so he would make everyone pies and charge a nickel a pie for his funding money. So of course I didn't charge him for the filling. And we'd have popcorn and, so it was just evenings of just having fun. And we did a lot of reading, work puzzles, crossword puzzles, or...
Okay, so just quickly, what you said that you used to sing a song and they'd give you $1, you and Aunt Janine?
Oh yeah,
do you remember,
I don't know what it was. It would be some song they would mention to see it.
You don't remember any of the songs?
Or they would sing it to us, and that,
Okay.
no, I don't remember right offhand. But that saying I said is, what was it on, remember I said I'd get back to it? Back then they had autograph books, so we took one with us when we went to Canada. Janine and I, one book we shared. I still have it someplace here. And we had people sign into it. And this one guy who was, I can just picture him, he almost looks like a movie star. I can't think of that movie star's name though. But he was kind of short and thin, and always had a pipe. And so he wrote in this book, and he wrote, I forgot, all I can think now is he can do little, who can't do that. What was the one I said? Boy, it's a good thing you're doing this now, David. I wouldn't remember in another 10 years. No, another 15 years. What was it I said? Don't you remember?
What?
When I said I'd get back to it, when I quoted that saying, I was talking about Manitoulin Islands.
What is it?
Manitoulin Islands.
Manitoulin.
That's the freshwater island.
Almost out of battery though.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I could remember that.
It's okay. I think that's good. I got a lot of stuff.
Oh.
I may do this again the next time that I come.
Oh, okay.
Once I look through the footage of this. Is that
And
okay?
erase what you want to erase, and
No, I'll keep everything, and then I just have to, I'm going to figure out what I want to do. I might do like a little 5-minute video to start, maybe to share with the whole family for Christmas.
oh,
And maybe edit in, like if you're talking about somebody, edit in their photo or...
you should have told me that, because I would have been more careful in what I was saying. Goodness, you're going to put me on a spot here. I'm going to be a Donald Trump or a Joe Biden.
Okay, say goodbye to the family.
Oh, bye.
And hello.
And hello.